All right, welcome everybody. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the summer session of Frenemies course. I am Professor Smith. This video is absolutely essential to you understanding what's going to go on in the course and to allow you to get yourself running as you hit your feet on the ground, starting this very brief 4-week semester. So there's two primary things I'm going to do in this video. First part is nuts and bolts, and this is absolutely essential, which is to say I'm going to go over the syllabus, I'm going to go over navigating Blackboard, and I'm going to go over a general idea of the theme of the course, what kinds of things we're going to be reading and thinking about, and why, how do they connect to this idea of frenemies, what the heck is a frenemy to begin with. Okay, so let's jump right into it and not waste any time. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the syllabus, right? And I'm going to bring it up directly from Blackboard. Absolutely important to understand what my expectations for the course are. They're to be found on the syllabus. Also includes what types of assignments you're going to have. Once you understand what types of assignments you're going to have and where to find them, then you know what to do without me saying so, without me sending out a reminder. You just find it and you go to work and you get it done on time, right? This is a very compressed semester. We are trying to put an entire semester's work in 4 weeks. It's understood that you know this when you sign up for it, this course, and that you're ready for the rigorous nature of it, right? It is formatted a little lighter than a full semester. There is no way to do in 4 weeks what we do in a normal semester. But it is understood that number one, you're going to have two significant assignments each week, one due in the middle of the week and one due on Sunday at the end of the week. And it's understood that you are doing work on a daily basis, and I can't give you the exact hour numbers it takes because each student is different and they go about things differently. But it's understood that every day during these 4 weeks, you are doing something to contribute to getting your work done and staying on top of the materials. You cannot be successful in this course without maintaining a daily, having your head in the game on a daily basis, right? So we want to talk about the format of the course and the nature of the assignments. There's two kind of fundamental assignments that run throughout the whole semester, and they're connected. Number one, reading and completing what I call a reading response. A reading response is simply questions based on the reading that are factual in nature and analytical and interpretive in nature. By factual, I mean, what does the author say about this? What does the author say about that? Facts from the text. Interpretive, what do you think it means that the author says X? Why is it the case that thus and so? What do you think this idea means? Which is interpretive, involving your intellectual analysis, active reading of the text. Okay, so it's an online course. Obviously, a major component of being successful in this course is navigating Blackboard. So we will look at very carefully navigating Blackboard and how that works. And then lastly, in terms of nuts and bolts, we're going to look at this week's assignment and make it very clear what the expectations are. Okay, so for those of you who haven't already done this, you need to email me. I've taken your emails off of CUNY First, the emails you've given to Lehman, and I've sent several emails to you already, either through the CUNY system or from this address, grouchoM1977@gmail.com. This is the email I am going to use to communicate with you about anything and everything. And it is absolutely crucial that early on in our semester, given how short it is, that we're in communication. I need to be in communication with every single student. This covers any type of communication we might have. And I will be sending out regular reminders about what's due and so on and so forth. However, I should say, as we get rolling here after the first couple weeks, reminders should be less necessary. The material is on Blackboard. It's there for you to do. And if you want to know what you need to do, you don't need to ask me. Just look at Blackboard, and I will go through Blackboard momentarily in a very comprehensive way. I've got my phone number here. I don't think anybody really need it. Even emergencies, personal emergencies, you can get in touch with by email, and we'll deal with it. If you have a serious issue, I'll talk about it more when we get to the syllabus. We'll deal with it. Okay, so now I want to turn to the syllabus, right? The syllabus is there for a reason. It contains all types of vital information, including this video. So you look at the syllabus and you watch this video, and you will have a comprehensive understanding of what you need to do for this semester. And maybe that sounds really simplistic to some of you, but I think 99%, you know what they say, 90% of success is showing up. Well, in a course that's an online format, 99% of success is just knowing where things are, knowing what to do. Of course, you got to do them, but that's the beginning. The syllabus is there for a reason. What if I told you the information you seek is in the syllabus? Of course, this is a joke for all those students who ask Professor a question that is sitting there in the syllabus. So right now, what I'd like to do is turn to the syllabus. Okay, so here we are looking at our course module for this course on Blackboard, right? And I'm looking at the student view. The idea is that this view is actually what you see. God knows if that's true, because I've always discovered that there are certain things on Blackboard that as a professor versus the student, you never see exactly the same. But this is what it's supposed to look like for you. So we're looking at the announcement section right now. Obviously, the crucial section is this menu right here, and the way I've laid it out and where the meat and potatoes are on that menu. Now, I'm going to get a little bit more into that menu in a moment when we look specifically at Blackboard. But right now, I just want to look at the syllabus, and I want to look at it by bringing it up actually on Blackboard. So let's hope this actually works. So here, I'll click on it. LEH 353, syllabus for summer 2021. That's us. And now let's see if I can get it to open sometime today. All right, that looks good. And opens. And there it is. So one of the issues that I always see come up while we're waiting here with students is that they have problems opening certain files, and sometimes the PDFs, they will say, oh, professor, there's only one page of that PDF. There's something wrong. Where's the rest of the pages? And the answer normally is, whenever you want to look at a file on Blackboard, do not look at it in preview. You must download it to your device first before you fully access it. And I can guarantee you, if you download it first and then access it, you will find that all the documents I've posted are in order. These documents have been used thousands of times for students. They work, they work, they work, they work. That said, I always think it's best to use a computer to download a document rather than a phone or some other, there's a million bits of technology today. The computer is what I use. There's no way I could ever do this on a phone or any other type of device like that. So you use the computer download, it should be fine. If you're having some problem with access to Blackboard, if you're having some problem with downloading documents that I know are in order and not corrupted and things like that, and that they're there rather than not there, you need to get in touch with tech people, because that's the point at which I don't have an answer for you. I know where my content is on Blackboard. I know that it's there, and so on and so forth. But if you're having some type of technical problem with Blackboard itself, I'm not going to be able to help you, because I have to say Blackboard is one of those great mysteries of life that I, despite being a professor and having to create the course on it, I am still in awe of some of those mysteries myself. And of course, it's not the greatest platform in the world. So this is an overview first of some of the ideas behind this course, which I'm not going to talk about right now because I want to get to the business end of it. But let me just say this is a course that I created based on some of the concerns I see about relationships in society today. And my first thought when I created it was the way in which we're living our lives through the internet to such an extent, and the way the internet is such a double-edged sword in terms of the ability to be proximate to human beings all over the planet, and yet still so distant because it's just a virtual relationship and you've never actually sat down and had a beer or a coffee with the person or whatever you like to drink. But that really opened up a whole other series of issues about why our relationships are the way they are, issues having to do with our human nature, and issues having to do with our current circumstances and the history of those circumstances. And I wanted to make a course, this was really important to me, that was intellectually rigorous and part of a truly liberal education, which many of you, we're in what's called general studies, which used to be called the humanities, which used to be called a liberal education. Now, what the heck is a liberal education? I think most of you probably couldn't answer that question, and it's a failure of your liberal education, right? So that was the first part. Some of the texts are challenging, right? And but then the thing that was really important to me, a real liberal education is really about you as a human being and what you really are, and that is particularly that you might not realize or don't realize, and that there is a common human nature and that it has basic needs and desires that are universal. And your education keeps you ignorant about these things. And if you don't know what you are in yourself, there's all kinds of interesting problems that emerge, and there's all types of motivations for your education. And excuse me, I don't mean to be putting this on any particular professor you've had or anything like that, but the general thrust of education in the United States today, both at the grade level and also at the university level, there's some serious problems in terms of, look, the more the better. The more you get exposed to, the better. That's part of a liberal education. It's a well-rounded education, making a well-rounded and complete or whole person, right? So the more you get exposed to, the better. But there are core elements to that education that are fundamental that are now being treated as old-fashioned or irrelevant or from a bigoted past. And when you actually look into these things, you see that only a bigot would keep you from these types of truths. Only a bigot or someone who wanted to control you would keep you from these basic understandings. Like, you know, here I've got a quote from the wonderful and great civil rights hero Booker T. Washington, right? How many of you even know, you might know about BLM, you might know about Al Sharpton, you know, he's out of New York. Do you know who Booker T. Washington is? Do you know who Frederick Douglass is? These are the people, these are the giants who the current civil rights people, Black Lives Matter, stand on, do not stand on, but they're the past of the civil rights movement. And these people had ideas that are not discussed today. And if you really want to liberate a human being, particularly if you want to liberate their mind from all types of intellectual slavery, you got to wonder why people aren't talking. And I'm not saying that there aren't professors who, you know, aren't providing this stuff. Absolutely there are. There are many great people in education. But on a whole, systemically, there's something very wrong with our education system that's not teaching, among other things, some very important ideas and some great heroes, particularly heroes of my heroes of the past. Okay, so here we go with the syllabus, and I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. This is a writing-intensive asynchronous course. Writing-intensive asynchronous. So if you need a special credit within your distribution requirements for writing-intensive, you're in the right course. I just had a student last semester who needed to graduate with another writing-intensive course, and guess what? Of the two sections they were in, they happened to be in the section that was not writing-intensive. They got to the end of the semester and they said, holy smokes, I need to graduate and I'm in the wrong class. What can we do about it? And I'm sitting there saying, as a professor, I can't do anything about that. Luckily, there was something that could be done. But it was by someone more powerful than me in terms of the administration end. And their advisor was able to change the course, and I added work for them. Anyway, so this is a writing intensive course, and I suppose if you're in this course, that's part of your concerns. Asynchronous. Synchronous has to do with time. Something that's synchronous happens at the same time. Something that's asynchronous does not happen at the same time. So this is a course that's online and not understood to be we're getting together in the same time online through Zoom, right? So that is not an obligatory part of our class, right? That we meet synchronously in real time through, in this case, Zoom, right? So that said, I'm not going to read this verbatim, but the key thing is here, we will have meetings on Zoom for your benefit, not mine, for your benefit. If you cannot make those meetings, you will not be penalized. You cannot be penalized because this is an asynchronous course, right? It's not strictly part of the requirements of the course, right? However, I am here for you so you can succeed to the best of your abilities. And also, I have to say, I enjoy meeting. I enjoy getting to know you within the context of the course. And I want opportunities. Personally, my own selfish motive is I like to have opportunities to talk about what we're reading. And I also want to see where you're at. So that's a diagnostic tool I have for you in terms of getting a sense of where you are. And I will tell you this point blank. It's really obvious to me for a long time. If you're showing up to those meetings, you're probably someone who's on top of the materials in the course. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean if you're not showing up, you're not on top of it, because yes, there are some students, you have lives. I get it. You're all probably busy. You're all probably working right now. And you can't necessarily make the time that I've scheduled, and there's never going to be a perfect time to schedule a course. But right now, I have Wednesdays at 7. Wednesdays at 7 is going to be our time. If we get together in person and a majority of the class says, Professor, could we do this time? We'll do that. I'm flexible, but probably you guys may not be as flexible. I'm putting it in the evening, unfortunately during dinner time, because I'm assuming that a lot of people are working during the day and that to do a morning time wouldn't work. But if a morning time turns out to work, we will negotiate on that. Okay, so learning objectives. There's really two foci to this semester, to this course. On one hand, there is reading and writing and developing your skills of reading and writing. On the other hand, all of that reading and writing is applied to the theme of friendship or frenemies, and particularly theories of friendship, and all the kind of satellite ideas that orbit in a system around, we could say more generally, human relationships. I am fascinated with human relationships. Human relationships are the product of human nature and human psychology, or you might say human character, right? There are certain fixed things in terms of our nature and our circumstances that put us all in relationship to one another. It doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, white, purple, green, rainbow, you name it. All those things are going to apply to all people. Then there, of course, are historically contingent circumstances that have evolved over time in a certain way that alter our relationships that are not universal, and they're unique to a certain time and place, like America in the 21st century here in 2021 with all the crazy you-know-what that's been going on in our world, that I think if you're honest with yourself, and you've really been paying attention to the news, and I don't know how many people pay attention, you're scratching your head saying, what the bleep is going on? Because I think, a liberally educated person is willing to recognize their own ignorance and to understand that there's stuff they don't know and understand. That's actually a sign of wisdom and intelligence. And it's actually an understanding that you know enough stuff to know that you don't know stuff. I've had a tremendous amount of education, and the more education I've had, it is absolutely true. The more I realize how little I really know about the world, because there's so much to know. I mean, there's some core things that everybody needs to learn up front, but then there's just so many domains of human experience and disciplines of knowledge that it's a mountain of knowledge that's been gained over millennia. Okay, so it's an online asynchronous course. Meetings, we'll have periodic meetings in person on Wednesdays at 7. And now we're looking at the types, the nature of the assignment, and the format of the course. Okay, so there's 3 primary elements, I should say 4. The first is readings. This course is based around readings, right? We're going to read texts that exemplify, that illustrate, and that deal thematically with the issue of friendship, frenemies, human relationships. Full stop. The primary type of assignment you're going to have is a reading response assignment. Little typo there. I've mentioned already, factual and analytical questions about the assigned text. They're reading questions. Really that simple. That's what I mean by a reading response. You respond to the text by answering these questions. On Blackboard, when we look at it, supporting materials. I've got videos. I've got PowerPoints. And in some cases, some rare cases, I have study guides. These materials must be looked at. These materials are essential to your success. For example, when you watch the videos that are hooked up through YouTube, I'd like you to comment on them. And that lets me know you're keeping up with the materials. One aspect is reading. The other aspect is watching the videos. Because it's in the videos, since we're not meeting in person a lot to talk about this stuff, it's where I digest the reading and help to explain it and illuminate it. Some of these readings are challenging, and not this week's. They're going to be, I think, very accessible, and that's part of my logic for the first week. But some of these readings are challenging, and the first time you ever read them, you're going to be scratching your head saying, huh, this is too hard. I don't like this, right? But that's part of the challenge of the course, and that reaction is a healthy reaction. It means you really tried to understand it, right? These readings are really about us. They're about you, right? So it's essential that you watch the videos to be able to digest them and start to find it like a trail through them in the wilderness, right? I'm overstating how impenetrable they are. Come on. Most weekly assignments will be due on Sunday. But in this course for 4 weeks, we're going to have 2 due dates. One on Wednesday and one on Sunday. One will be due at the time we meet and the other on Sunday. Okay. So then last, quizzes and tests. So for example, this Sunday you have a vocabulary quiz dealing with terms essential to interpreting readings and works of literature and so on and so forth. Okay. I'm not going to go over all of these things because they're really self-evident. I'm just spelling it out. Today a professor's syllabus is like a legally binding document. We can't leave anything implicit anymore. If these requirements don't suit you, this class is not for you. When you stay in this class, you're making a kind of compact or an agreement with yourself and the professor that you've signed on to do this work and to keep up with it properly, right? So some of this is just reiterating, the nature of the assignments. Key thing, grades are based on performance. I do not give you a grade, you earn a grade, right? The way I grade students is the same for everybody. I do it every semester. It's a no-brainer. The student generates a performance, it generates a number, it generates a grade. It's very simple. And I treat everybody's work the same way, right? So if you have a scholarship or you're, on the honor roll or whatever it is, that is your job to make that grade. I was stunned last semester, not a student at Lehman, and obviously I won't mention their name, but they got at the end of the semester and they told me, Professor, I'm on the verge of graduating magna cum laude. That's like the top of the top of the top of the top, right? He says, I need an A for this course. He said, what are you smoking? First of all, magna cum laude doesn't just mean like you're a straight A student. It means you have character. It means you have decency. It means you have a sense of duty and responsibility. And you're not begging a professor for the grade you want at the end of the semester, right? People who go graduate magna cum laude, I'm sure 99.99 earned it. I didn't graduate that way because I didn't earn it, right? So I was stunned that he was begging for the grade so he could graduate magna cum laude. Not only did he beg for the grade, which I was shocked, but she, did it in the context where the award that they were supposed to be getting, I mean, this connoted more than just academic performance. It connoted something about their character, which, and so on. All right, so here's the breakdown of the grade. So getting to the end of the syllabus here, thank goodness, right? Some just important big overall dates. Because let me make it clear, all the key dates beyond these will be built into the assignment module we will look at in a moment. But so this coming Sunday, July 25th, quiz number 1 is due. Sunday, August 1st, midterm exam is due. I don't want you to get caught up with the midterm exam. Holy smokes, that's a midterm exam. It's only 2 weeks into the course. My goodness, what can you expect from us? It will be an appropriately sized exam for the material we cover, and it's a 2-page essay exam. Likewise, the final, once you've seen the format of the midterm, the final exam will be exactly the same format, right? Exactly the same format. So 2 weeks later, you have the final exam. What are the 2 exams? Essay questions on the texts and the ideas in them that are similar but not identical to the reading responses. So the reading responses are preparing you for those exams. So the better you stay on top of those questions, the more thoroughly you answer them, the more you've already done work toward those exams. But they will be essay exams such that the answers you provide will be more polished, the kind of a formal piece of writing that I'm going to be grading on structure and grammar and things like that, not just content. So then final grades are due to the registrar, August 23, right? What does that mean? This is a date, in a sense, for me. This is when I have all your grades calculated and turned into the registrar, period. And let me tell you, the school does not let me turn in grades late. I don't get to say, hey, can I turn them in late? No. It is a hard deadline, and you get a lot of flack when you don't get your business done properly because it's a big mess if you don't. So this is also a deadline for you all students. If there is any outstanding work you haven't turned in to me, if you don't get it to me, I mean, first of all, who has time on the day of? I mean, depending on what you give me an exam, it takes time to grade. If you have late work, and under certain circumstances, I will accept late work. It will probably be marked late, marked in, depends on the person's individual circumstance. But that is absolutely a hard deadline. Okay, I'm not going to read all of this. But it's really key you keep this in mind because it happens every semester, like clockwork. Personal issues. If you have serious, notice the word serious, if you have serious personal issues that prevent you from keeping up in this course, and this is a course you must keep up weekly, if not daily, to stay on top of the material. If you have serious personal issues, and every semester there's something, I mean, we just went through COVID for a year, and I mean, is it over? Maybe I shouldn't say went through. We are going through COVID, and who knows, we'll be locked down in 6 months from the Delta variant, right? So stuff happens in life. When you have a problem, it is crucial that you email me as soon as you can, so we can deal with it, right? That's the basic thing. I want to be there to help you when you've got a serious problem. And then it'll say, hey, student X, whoever it is, Of course, I'm going to cut you this slack. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get through the semester. You still got to do the work, but this is the time frame, and you've shown evidence that what's going on is for real, and the best, one of the best evidences that I know a student has a problem, a real problem, is that they actually keep in touch regularly. It's those sketchy situations where the student disappears for the whole semester, and then a week before grades are due, hey, professor, oh my God, did you know? And no, I didn't know, because you didn't contact me the whole time, and I actually tried to get in touch with you, and, it's not personal, don't get me wrong, but that part of your grade when you have a personal issue is actually getting in touch and letting me know there's an issue. I am not going to, and I have no obligation to be sympathetic. Someone who, poof, comes out of nowhere after, an extended period of absence and says, oh yeah, and, very oftentimes those are the people who are unable to provide serious documentation. And it's very difficult as a professor because I want to assume that everyone's telling me the truth and is honest. On the other hand, I have an obligation to be fair. Grades have to be based on a level playing field, and that's what makes the differences between them meaningful, right? So I sometimes do have to take into consideration, and I will particularly take into consideration that someone has not done so this is part of your grade if you have a personal issue. You must get in touch and keep me informed. And I don't need to know every last bit about your personal circumstance, but I need to have a general understanding of what's going on, right? Okay, so now I'm looking at the assignments folder for this week. Now everybody's going to freak out here. All right, I'll click on assignments. So here's a week 1 assignment. We'll come back to this all in a moment. But what I want to look at right now, since there's 2 primary assignments for each half a week, right? Reading and reading response. Reading and reading response. Is that clear? So here we have reading response instructions. I'm not going to go over every last jot and tittle of the reading response instructions, but I do want to touch on some important things that tend to be issues with some students. Okay, so the purpose of the reading response is to demonstrate that you've carefully read and considered the material I provided you. Why do I give reading responses? Oh, you got to have some assignment, right? But I want to know that you've read. And when you answer these questions competently, not magically and excellently, competently, it shows me that you're staying on top of the material. Now, the big thing is reading response questions will be found on the discussion board. There'll be a series of readings. Week 1, we have mending wall and the money. So then you go to discussion board, week 1, and guess what? Questions, mending wall and the money. We'll see that in just in a little bit. All right. So important: answer in complete sentences, no phrases, bullet points, or standalone vocabulary words. Right. Each answer must be a minimum of 3 sentences. Respond by the due date indicated in the weekly module. Where is the due date going to be indicated? It's going to be indicated in the weekly folder, which has the weekly module, which has the due date in it. You must get them in on time. Particularly, they're going to do on Wednesday by class time. So if you're there to talk about it, that's the due time. And I will be grading these things weekly, so everyone has a is on top of where their grade stands, because this will be a quick grade. There's one thing, really important thing, that I actually don't have in here, and as I have different versions of this document, but the key thing is this: the questions are in the discussion board. Answer in the discussion board module. Do not attach a file. Answer directly in the discussion board. If you attach a file, guess what? I am not going to read it. I cannot go through everybody's discussion board and download documents and read it and then go back into the discussion board to grade. It's not going to work that way. And it needs the discussion board because a part of the discussion board is commenting on 2 other students' answers, right? So if you put an attachment of, let's say not even a Word document, let's get really perverse, a WordPad document that when someone tries to open up, it won't even open because it's from a file format from like 2 decades ago, right? That's like the worst as a professor, right? It's also bad for a student. They need to see your work there so they can comment on it easily, and they should be able to comment on it easily. So it's really crucial. Answer directly. Now, I know what the problem is. The problem is when you answer questions into discussion board, the formatting sucks, and something gets messed up and the information gets deleted. So maybe the solution is to keep a separate Word document with that information on there, and once you've written it up in the discussion board, you cut and paste it and save the document until the end of the course, because I've had that happen all the time. Okay, so the grading rubric, right? These are 10 points each. It's short and sweet. Get your grade, get your 10 points, and move on, right? Answer all questions. 3 sentences each, full sentence paragraph form. You need to demonstrate sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the text. I need to know that you've read the text, right? In terms of speller and grammar, only something that's really reckless and sloppy am I going to really penalize. I'm not going to respond and give you comments on these, although you will get on the exams. They make up roughly a third of your grade. You do them, you get them done, you read, you answer properly, and you get, most of the time 10 points. What am I saying? I'm not grading this as rigorously as I am going to grade the midterm and the final. I'm not grading this as rigorously as the midterm and the final. If you show me evidence of you read and basic comprehension, then you're going to get close to 10 points. Now, another thing. You're reading these writings, course texts, for the first time, right? You're going to understand some things and not other things. Then you're going to watch a video, or we're going to have class, and you're going to realize, oh, there's all that going on, but I don't have it in answers. Well, number one, watch the videos before you do the reading response. And number two, it's expected that, hopefully, right, your understanding of these texts is going to evolve through class discussion. And we'll have a little bit this semester. It's limited. Okay. So the point is, don't worry if you didn't understand every last thing about the text the first time you read it, because who does? Nobody does. So let's recap. What types of assignments are you going to have? You're going to have readings. You're going to have reading responses found in the discussion board of Blackboard. And you're going to have quizzes and tests. 1 quiz, a midterm, and a final exam. Okay, so let's turn to Blackboard, right? Okay, so this is a little screenshot straight from our current Blackboard. We'll go to Blackboard in a moment. This menu is absolutely crucial to be able to navigate the course. And I've set it up the way I set it up. I have no clue how other professors set it up, and I'm sure that every professor does it differently, right? So let's be clear. The first thing you're going to see here is really important. You're going to see permanent Zoom link. Permanent Zoom link. I will not be posting this Zoom link all over the place. It's here. It's a permanent Zoom link. Every time we have a meeting on Zoom, we're going to use this Zoom link. So you click on it once, then you have to click again, and then it sends you to the Zoom meeting, right? It's not going to change, right? It's a universal link for any meeting we might have, and it's always going to be right here. So if it's Wednesday, and it's 6:55, and I've got class, where do I go? Well, I go to the permanent Zoom link. It's right there. Okay. Course announcements. I've already put up a few announcements right now. But I want to be very clear. Since I'm using my Gmail account, all announcements about the course are going to come directly from my Gmail account, and I'm going to stop posting announcements here once I see that there's communication going on my Gmail account, right? And I'm still waiting for a handful of students to get in touch with me. Okay. Then the next one, course syllabus and information, or course information and syllabus. We just looked at that, right? Next is assignments, right? And I'll come back to this. I want to go through the discussion board. So right now, you've got the reading response instructions. This is kind of universal for all reading responses, right? Then week 1, professor, Where do I find this week's work? What the heck do I do? You go to the week 1 folder and all will be revealed, right? Then this week's quiz is in a separate folder. I think it's just simpler to separate it out. Quiz 1 due July 24 at 11:59 by 11:59 p.m. So the midterm and the final likewise will not be in a weekly folder. It will be in its own test folder, but I will make reference to it in the weekly folder. Okay, so then lastly, we can do it. There we go, discussion board, right? So I have links to the discussion board in the weekly folder. So there's 2 ways you can get to the discussion board. One, you can do it through a link in the weekly folder, or you can go directly to the discussion board. Now let me make one thing clear. For a whole course of a full semester's worth, or a regular, spring semester of reading responses. We're not going to go through all of those in this limited time that we have, right? So I would navigate, if you want to know exactly which one to do, I would navigate through the weekly folder. But the logic is simple. The title of the reading response will correspond to the week and the specific readings we're doing for that week, right? So if you see a reading response that's a different week, or a title of something you haven't read that's not in that module, guess what? We're not doing it, or at least we're not doing it at that time, right? So here I provided you the instructions, answer the questions, minimum 3 sentences each, respond to 2 other students. You will not get full credit on the reading response if you do not respond to other students. And then here are the questions. This week I happen to have questions on 2 different little readings, right? Okay. So now we're going to turn back to live Blackboard itself and look through the assignment module. So the way the module is set up will be identical every week. So get familiar with the format. Here I'm going to do this just the way you would. So you can see how it works, and then, well, I should say that it actually does work. All right, so now we want to go to the week 1 folder. It's a folder. There's stuff inside, right? All right, so this little blob of text that's not a file itself is what I'm calling the assignment module, right? And I think that's what the kind of Blackboardese lingo is. So I give you week 1, right? And if that weren't clear enough, I give you the dates of the week. Absolutely ironclad, you know that this week's work is in this folder. You cannot be mistaken. So if we have a meeting, the next thing I'm going to do, because that's the thing that, like, out of sight, out of mind, I put it at the top here, right? Meeting July 24th at 7 p.m. Now, during this meeting, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to go over any questions you have about the business end of this course, syllabus, expectations, blah, 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 whatever it happens to be. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the vocabulary terms that you're going to be quizzed on at the end of the week. Now, these vocabulary terms have to do not specifically with the concept of friendship or human relationships. They have to do with skills of reading and interpretation. And the quiz involves taking those terms, knowing what they mean, and applying them to the 2 texts from this week, Mending Wall and The Money. So then the third thing we're going to do during that class is to read Mending Wall and The Money, and we will apply those terms, apply those concepts. Some of them are very simple, folks, very simple, like setting, characters, conflict. What is the conflict of this story? What is the setting of this story? Now, many of these things you probably did in grade school. So I think for a lot of you, they should be redundant, repetitive. Review, right? But we'll do them in a highly specified way, and we'll get into some nuts and bolts that obviously high school probably wouldn't go into. But this course is partly about reading and understanding. You can't appreciate the content of the course if you don't develop your skills of reading. And given the nature of the course, part of a central component of it is skills of reading and interpretation and understanding, which every semester, it's very clear to me, it's essential that students work and develop these skills because they have such serious ramifications for anything you would do in life. So we want to hit the ground running. This is the week to get everything in order and on top of things. All right, so there's one thing I haven't mentioned so far. Introducing yourself through Padlet. So this is the first like mini assignment. And Padlet is just a kind of social media post board where I'm asking you to introduce yourself, right? So if I'll click over here, here's our Padlet, and in the next video I'll go over some of this stuff, but here are the questions that I've asked you to answer up here, right? This is a way for me to learn about you. This is a way for you to learn about each other, and particularly because of that, it's a way to make this feel like it's a real course and we're not in the ether of, virtual reality on a computer, right? Watching YouTube videos. We want to try to recreate or do some kind of stand-in for personal connection that you have in a classroom, right? So here I've given my response to introduce some aspect about me as it relates to the course. And I ask you to provide a funny meme. I haven't quite done that. I've given you a video, and unfortunately it's not funny. It's interesting and insightful, but maybe actually it's a little depressing. But gives you an interesting insight into human relationships, and it raises the themes of our course very directly. And it's a little video that is not terribly controversial, I don't think, but that really gets at some of the social and political dynamics that are going on in our society today and around the world. It's not just in the United States. But you'd have to follow the news to know that. Okay, so what are we going to tackle this week? All the things that I've basically been talking about, right? So I've got here, normally what I'm going to give you is a description of the readings of that week, right? Then I'm going to give you learning objectives, where these are the things that are our learning goals. I've talked about some of these. I'm not going to waste your time with them now. And then two things that are absolutely crucial for your success: assignment materials and assignments, right? The assignment materials lists all the things necessary to do the assignment: the readings, the videos, the PowerPoints, and the discussion board. Now, let me be really clear, because this seems like a lot of material. Let me boil it down a little bit. The videos are based on my PowerPoints. They're explanations of PowerPoints, essentially. So the PowerPoint you really only need to look at if, instead of going back through a video, poor old me, you just want to look at a couple slides. Like, for example, the vocabulary quiz. I want to look at the definitions of the terms, right? So you don't waste your time going through the whole video. You go to the PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint is, in a sense, backup. And really, it's the video is the primary material. And if you need to just happen to look something up, you can use the PowerPoint, right? Then down here, so here are the readings, and here's the discussion board. All this content will be found right down here, right? So I'll either have a folder called Weekly Readings, or I'll just put the reading right in here. Reading response instructions, there I've got it again, in case you missed it the first time. And this is a link that goes directly to the reading, to the discussion board page. It's identical to these links, right? So in the future, I'm probably not going to put a reading response questions link down here because I'll have it up here, right? And this is the best way to navigate. Remember, where does this take you? It takes you to the discussion board. So I've got the videos. This will be included momentarily. And then I've got the PowerPoints. Just notice how this list mirrors what's down here. So if I click on Weekly Readings, lo and behold, there they are. Something I haven't mentioned. Is there a course text? Normally it's something you see in the syllabus. No course text. Everything I will provide you as a PDF for the semester. So you don't have to buy anything, which is very convenient. So let me briefly talk about these. These are two really great. One's a poem, one's a short story. The Money is written by Junot Diaz. Many of you are probably familiar with Junot Diaz, a Dominican-American author who writes a lot about, as he frames it, his own kind of hybrid identity, having a Dominican background, but also being an American. And this is a story growing up. Now, it reads like it's Junot Diaz's life, but it's a fiction story. So it may well have many autobiographical notes in it. But he is not writing in the first person. He is writing from the perspective of a narrator and a kid, dealing with personal friendships and relationships in his hood. And I think it's a really great story to start out the semester. And it's short. It's 1 page long. But there's a lot of meaty stuff in it. And one of the reasons I choose these short readings is because we can really analyze them with the tools of reading and analysis that I'm going to provide that will really allow you to make sense of these terms, of these stories, and get a lot out of them because they're so short. When you got a 300-page novel, the professor never spends their time on every page. Here we got 1 page. We can spend all our time on that 1 page. And then Robert Frost's Mending Wall. A poem that is really, it's a narrative. It is a short story. Now, it's an unusual story. There's lots of interesting things that are left out that in writing a story would typically be included. And there's something elusive about it, and obviously about the meaning of it. And what we want to really get at is what is the meaning of this story? What the heck is a mending wall? The walls don't mend, they divide. Even Donald Trump knows that, as silly as he can be. Right? So 2 really, I think, exciting stories to start the semester. Very accessible and fun, with lots of juicy stuff we can talk about and think about. So the last thing I want to talk about here is due dates. And because due dates are so essential. The question, Professor, is what the hell is my assignment and when is it due? Right? Well, your assignment, the 2 key things here, reading and discussion board. Right? Complete the readings and then complete the discussion board. Right? And we've got some other things in here too. So this is how I put your assignment up in terms of format, right? So those are the assignments. There's also quiz 1, right? The second part of this week. And so the key thing here is that the due dates are here, Wednesday, July 21, and then Sunday, July 25 for the quiz, right? So when you look at assignments, once you get used to this format, you're going to see this is the assignment and this is when it's due. This is the assignment and this is when it's due. It's here in black and white. There's no ambiguity about it. And I think for future weeks, in each folder, what I'm going to do is have 2 assignment modules. One that's due for the middle of the week and one that's due for the end of the week. So that the difference between the midweek assignment and the end of the week assignment is a little more simple compared to this one being combined together. First week, I still don't think it's that complicated. All right. So with that, any questions you have about this business end of the class, we will talk about on Wednesday. So nice to meet you all. Look forward to having interesting conversation with you. And I hope you all have a great semester. And the best way to do that is get everything in order in this first week. Thank you very much.